to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Number 3.0, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. Mel and Deb, all right, any discussion on that? Not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, public comment, there's no one for that. 5.0, consent agenda. Need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, Scott. Second. Right, Mark? Any discussion or questions on that?
Just maybe a thank you to whoever donated that baby grand. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and all the donations that we got there, so, thank you. All right, if there's no other comments, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Thank you. Okay, 6.0 is the communications report. Jim's not here, we'll skip him for now. Todd,
All right, well, we've had a busy month down in pre-K 5, completed our bus safety, we had fire prevention week with preschool and kindergarten going down to fire hall. We did walk and roll to school, which is a statewide event, I guess actually a national event where our kids met at the community center and they walked down to school together. I was on the 9th. Our third graders went to Wilmer to the orchestra, so they had a good field trip there. We also went to first graders on a field trip to go see farms. We've got the Raptor Center coming here on the 16th, so we've been busy with a variety of things that keep us on our toes. We also had poison prevention in today, so a good lesson for our young kids, especially with the pills that look a lot like candy these days, so that was just a good reminder for them. I'll just highlight two things off of the report that I gave you. The first one, we completed fast bridge testing. So fast bridge replaced STAR, if you remember STAR from years past. So this is kind of part of what the MBA requires schools to do. So we'll do it again in January and then again in the spring. So 3 rounds of testing, so not as frequent. From that, Beth Gustafson did just a great job helping staff kind of go through that for the first time, pulling a lot of kids out. And then the data collection. And that data is done by Julie Deacons for the most part. So both Beth and Julie have just been great this last month to help us get that data and then use it to take our low risk and high risk students and put them into groups. So our interventions are in place now. We're kind of full speed ahead. So we're excited to see what kind of gains we can make before our next assessment coming up in January. I think it's January 13th to the 24th is that next window for us. So we feel pretty good about that. And then on the bottom, I've been in each classroom doing kind of a mini observation, just a quick drop in, and then I've started the full-fledged observation on 4 of our non-tenured staff. Just great to get in the classroom. Got a lot of talented, passionate teachers and a lot of really good things going on here. So just excited to be able to watch that happen, watch our kids make progress towards the goals that we're setting for them. So, do you have any questions for me?
I'd like to add something. If you could share with the board, Mr. Bertram, the FastBridge that we're currently doing. What are we testing in the elementary school with FastBridge, and then what do we use that data for?
Great question. So the tests are centered around reading and math. We focused a lot of our MTSS time on reading this year, but you can also use it for math. So it gives us a score on the reading part. It kind of red flags the student is at risk for dyslexia, and then it puts them in either a high risk, a low risk, or moderate risk, or I guess it'd be no risk. So a little different. The colors are different than what we've had in the past, but basically it puts them into kind of 4 categories. If you think of the MCA test, the exceeds, meets, partial, doesn't, kind of that same thing. So on the partial or doesn't, or the low risk and high risk, those are the students that we try to put in small groups of about 4 or 5, and then work on interventions with those. So those interventions done by the classroom teachers, by our Title I staff, and then by Julie herself. She pulls that. So, and then math, we do the same thing. Just the interventions aren't quite as detailed, so that's more just done in the classroom. We use that same strategy to kind of separate those groups to help us identify which kids are the greatest risks, and then what can we do to help them make those gains. So Yeah.
So I have a question now.
Yeah,
Thank you
no,
for explaining
yeah.
that. So how does all of this dovetail into the other testing that we're doing? Because several years ago, we look at the data both in reading and in math, and we really have some areas that we could improve in and
Yep.
whatnot. How does this data fit into that, or doesn't it? And what else do we learn from it?
Great question. Yeah, so, this is our first time with FastBridge, so I guess we anticipate that FastBridge will have a greater correlation to the MCA test, because this is what Minnesota wants us to do. So the data that we get should be similar to what we're going to see come springtime. So it helps us identify those at-risk kids sooner, so that hopefully we can make those gains. So, our staff has gone one step further, and they've isolated certain kids that, they're gonna focus on to try to raise those. So, they're looking at interventions that are more detailed as well as for small groups. So, we use that data then hopefully to see some progress when it comes time for those MCA tests. Again, it's one day, one snapshot, but when we do this 3 times, I think we get a pretty good view of that. Although we only do the FastBridge 3 times, we do some progress monitoring between those tests. So those are just kind of shorter, brief check-ins to kind of help us see if we're making gains or if a kid needs to move from one group to the next. So there will be some progress monitoring between now and January 13th. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Sorry, that's a long answer, isn't it?
It's okay, thank you.
Yeah.
When is your third set of testing? Is that at the end of the year, or do you still have time to make some corrections and adjustments?
That will be, it will be before the MCAs, but not substantially before. So it should just kind of give us one more look at where we're at, with about 2 weeks to kind of really focus on what we can do for MCAs, yeah.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Tom. All right, Judd, we'll go with you.
Awesome, thank you. Fairly light on the bullet points for you this month. I do want to address real quick. I feel like I think this is because I'm getting older. You know, time changes as you age. I feel like every year I keep saying, man, we're already through with the next step. The next time we have a board meeting, we're going to be over 25% through the school year, and it just flummoxes me every time I think about it. Anyway, so we're a month into the books, and homecoming week was fantastic. I'm very happy to talk about. We brought back the parade. The parade looks a little bit different. It looks a lot different than it used to, but we utilized the track, had a walking parade, so all the high school groups and the grades were able to walk around the track. We had the elementary kids were the fans in the stands, and so it was a nice way to kind of soft break in of the track and the football field to get the kids to walk around it. And, we're looking at what we can do to improve it, of course, but for it to be a first try, it was one of those things that's the start of making memories that, you know, when you are talking about, well, back in my day in school, to be able to talk about that parade is something that definitely the staff wanted to bring back, and I think it was a good first step forward with our kids that are currently here now. Again, we continued with our safety stuff, so we're rolling with all of that. The bus safety, of course, being one of those things that's important, and John was making sure we were on top of that. I want to highlight bullet point number 4. Miss Carmody came to me last spring and talked to me about this Nobel Prize conference at Las Vegas. And I kind of went, okay, what are we talking about here? So anyway, she said, hey, I've got a really cool option for the kids. They're doing it virtually this year, so we don't need to go down to St. Peter. We could utilize the auditorium, bring the kids into it, let them attend certain sessions. And the really cool thing was that it was about adolescent sleep. And so good opportunity for them to be able to be exposed to that, have this wonderful, I'll say the online venue, but to have this really professionally conducted and performed opportunity for the kids to get this information about something that is really relevant to them, whether or not they want to admit it. So that was really good. Did that over 2 days. And then we had our staff workshop on the 7th, and we did some CPR. I have 90 on it. That would have been the potential for the maximum of staff that could have done it. Ended up not being that high because we did make it optional for pairs to come in. It was a little bit of late notice, and we weren't going to require it, but they already had something to do or other jobs that they were working. But big thank you to Granite Falls Avera and to Nurse Donna for setting that up for us. And then we also threw in a checkoff for the teachers. It was on the Indigenous Peoples component for CEUs that they need for their licensure. So we were able to provide that link to them, so they were able to get that taken care of as one of those options for them to do. We also had a blood drive, carrying on with opportunities for kids to go places and learn about careers and colleges and If you haven't figured it out over my 4 years at the high school now, that's something I'm passionate about. I want kids to have a good opportunity to have an idea on what's out there for them as they transition, starting that transition kind of about 10th grade. And so that conference is rolling tonight, first one of 2 for the week, and I will have some attendance numbers for you on that when we reconvene in November. Any questions for me? Awesome, thank you.
All right, Jim, now that you're here,
Sorry, I was out working at 56er football game.
all right,
Well, most things you can read, I'll just highlight a few things that you don't have to read. First off, as you see, we played in a conference championship. It's kind of exciting again against Minneota. This is an extra game that State High School League does not make us count. So if it's an interconference championship game, we're allowed to have an 18th event. And so that's kind of beneficial. And it's kind of fun. Girls tennis season did conclude last week at Sioux Falls. Both we lost in the first round. We had to play the number 1 seed Montevideo. It was a really quality team. Our numbers are good, no question. I talked to Lindsay a little bit about this. The big thing right now is the girls have to really start putting in some off-season time. A lot of the other programs, volleyball has a lot of success right now, and they go play weekend after weekend after weekend, which I always have mixed feelings about too. They need a break too, but showing up and playing for 45 minutes here or there probably isn't going to take you to that next level. So we have some good numbers out. We have a lot of good kids out, and but if we want to start winning, we obviously have to start putting some summertime in, maybe get involved in the USTA and things like that. Football, we have had a little conflict or whatever in our district. In the last 2 weeks, we've been hearing about it, and then I got official information today, but you'll see the tournament dates. But when we played Canby this year, we got beat, and then we got notified today that they had some ineligible players playing against us, so that turned out to be a forfeit. So they had to forfeit their 2 wins in the first 6 games of the season. They weren't allowed to have any wins at that point. We're not really sure. The talk right now is about seeding. Most conferences or most districts use what's called the QRF, and it's a point system. Last year, our region or our district didn't want to do that, so our coaches voted to do a voting seeding this year. So we don't really know where that's going to go. So Canby is 0-7. 1-7. They beat Wyoming last week, and they go on and play either Minneota or Bold this week, who are ranked, top 5 in state. Minneota's 1. I can't remember who, but it just depends on how the coaches vote. And again, it's a big game for us tomorrow night. If we beat Wyoming with 3 wins, we're probably in the playoffs. So this year, our section has decided not to play 7 and 8, and I think some of that goes back to when you have Minneota and Bold, and a number of years they're ranked 1 and 2 in the state, and then we're putting 7th and 8th grade teams against them, and you're losing by 60 or 70 points. That's not good for them. That's not good for the teams losing. So this year we've decided to play a 7th and 8th grade game. They have no ability to move on in the tournament. But the 7th and 8th grade team, 7th and 8th place or ranked team gets to play 1 game and the season is done. And so only the 1 through 6 are in the seeded tournament. So really tomorrow night is as big a game as they've had, all year. They're either in the tournament, which would most likely be a 6 seed, I would guess. And again, then you're playing 3, so it's not like you're having to play one of those 2 powerhouses right away either. But so that's kind of what's going on in football. Volleyball, you'll see the playoffs there. We've really had a strong season, and knock on for Micah. We so far this year, last weekend we beat RTR, who's ranked number 1 in the state. When we went and played the 3-set tournament over in the cities in Burnsville, we beat both Minneota and Tyler, who were I think 2 and 3 at that time, and we lost to the number 1 ranked team at that time. I can't remember. Carmel, do you remember where they're from? But we lost to them in 3 sets, I believe 16-14.
yeah, Canby.
Well, then there was another one starting with M, so we don't play.
Mabel Canby.
I think so.
Yeah.
So we have played 4 of the 5 top teams in the state and beat 3 of them so far. Now again, that's they were 3-set matches, but so we going into tournaments, this is going to be a really interesting. I could see any one of 4 teams come out of our section would be potential state finalists. So lastly here on the events, cross country, they go to Laverne this Thursday. The one positive is that we have the most cross-country kids we've had for quite a few years. We're up to 11 kids, as if you looked in that report. The second or third page. But so our numbers are going up. That's good and bad when we go run places now. We can't fit the 10-passenger van anymore, so we have to take a couple vehicles, and I guess that's a good thing. People to drive. Let's see. Number 2 was actually Judd's. I got a little mixed up on that one. That was the band concert was his, so not his. That's why I'm not sure I put it in there. Music practices have started. I'm giving you a little month extra notice now. I normally tell you about 2 days before. If you can put those dates on your calendar, it'd be really nice. You guys could make it to the auditorium for one of those events, November 15, 16, and 17, and see their hard work.
What is the musical?
Charlie Brown.
Thank you, John. I was gonna just say that. Yeah. Junior high boys basketball, we still have a split season. There's only 4 or 5 of us that do that, and I always have mixed feelings about that. I kind of like to go the longer season. Part of the problem is, again, our school day is still longer than most school days, so some of these schools that do that, some of them have morning practices, some of them will go, they get an hour and 15 minutes after school, and then the other one goes after that. The problem is now we're going until 7 o'clock, and I don't know that I'm ready to take that step. I wish I could figure that out. So I was asking tonight, maybe we could build another court. That would help me a lot if we can get that in there. But no, that ideally it'd be nice to have a full season. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet without having morning practices or really night practices, and that's not good either. You see, the dance team starts next week, and then I've asked for the majority of my winter coaches, so thank you for approving those. I got still a few positions I'm working on. I did have Aaron Arndt resign from the C Squad boys basketball position at this point, and I'm still kind of working on, haven't talked to people for the junior high girls yet, so I do have till January, but that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
I have something for you, Mr. Truelove.
Okay.
We have this fall, we have been working with a trainer that has come out to help
Thank you.
with school activities. Could you share with the board where that conversation started, and then maybe just some of the highlights of the last month or so with that?
Sure. I've only got 20 minutes left.
Yeah, I know, that's what.
Oh, okay. All right. Heather Christopher, Mr. Christopher's wife, is a physical therapist at Olivia Hospital, and they brought up, would we ever be interested in having her come and help? And I will say, there's a high percentage of schools we play at that they have home field trainers. Wyoming, they have one that comes in almost every day, so they're there for practices. Their trainer is there for most of their events. So we talked to Heather Christopher, and she'd be willing to do it. And again, not for free, but she comes in and works our home football games, which has been really helpful. The other thing is, and this isn't a slam on any coaches, but there's a lot less training involved to be a coach nowadays. You have to go take an 8-hour Saturday class, or now I think you can do it online, and then they give you 8 more hours online, where it used to be a full semester. You had about 16 credits. You would spend a whole football season taping ankles and helping in the training room, and those things for head coaches basically gotten thrown out. In fact, most schools don't even do a coaching minor anymore. So it puts the coaches it makes it difficult for them too. Maybe their training doesn't often help them in what to do, how to diagnose, and so on. So Heather has been staying at our home football games. Maybe down the road, maybe she'll travel with us. And then if we find out we have injuries, and we open it up to volleyball, cross country, and tennis. And if there are injuries athletes that need working on or just diagnosis, she's willing to come in Wednesday after she gets done to Olivia Hospital. She gets here about 4:15 and puts in the time she needs, which has usually been about an hour and 15 minutes, so it's not real long. And we're probably going to carry that out. She will not attend events during the remainder of the year, with the exception of a few big things. We'll probably have her for a dance competition. We'll have her we're hosting a home track meet. We're hosting a home track meet and the home conference track meet this year, if our facilities and the grass are ready. But we'll probably have her for big events like that, where there's a lot of teams involved. And then she is still willing in the winter months, if my coaches reach out and say we have some injuries and stuff like that, she's willing to come after she gets done work on Wednesdays to work with our kids, and she's doing it on an hourly rate for us. Not travel time, nothing like that when she gets here, so.
Thank you.
Is there
Yeah.
more?
No, I just wanted to make sure that that was shared. No, that's very good, thank you.
All right, I think that sounds great. Good option for our athletes.
It's
Got any other
especially-
questions or?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, it's especially helpful, like you see during the football season, I believe, do we have 4 coaches on staff for football?
Yeah.
So you've got 4 coaches that are on staff, and all of them have responsibilities during the game, whether they're calling offense, calling defense, preparing special teams, getting the next people in line, ready and stuff like that. And as soon as you have one injury, now you have 25% of your coaching staff has to go deal with that. You know, and you might have somebody that's dealing with a head trauma or a concussion, and then somebody that has a wrist. Well, now there's 2 coaches that have to take care of that. And when those things happen, sometimes the person that has just an injured wrist maybe isn't cared for as much as they maybe should, just because somebody else has to still carry out the play. You can't call a timeout to retape an ankle, and stuff like that. So I've seen that as really being helpful to our coaching staff too, that you know, they can be prepared. So.
Excuse me, and Josh, I did have one more thing just happened today. We, Mrs. Tenson applied to the State High School League they had, and I can't remember, they were gonna give away like 30 AEDs, and it took into consideration the, free and reduced and the, free and reduced population in your district and all that stuff. And we got notified today that we're one of the schools that are receiving a free AED from them, which is probably $1,500, and I'm happy about that because we have 2 traveling ones, which I said was softball and baseball, and now it'd be nice to send one with track in the spring, so it's gonna be handy having a 3rd one at no cost.
Thank you.
Promise, that's it.
All right, thanks, Jim. Ready, Josh?
Sure. Well, thank you very much for coming in. October is Principal Appreciation Month, and I just want to give a shout out to both Mr. Wheatley and Mr. Bertram. Both those guys dump in a tremendous amount of time and effort so that our day can run smoothly and so that our kids are getting the best education they could possibly get, and that staff are treated well as it too. There certainly are a lot of joys to being a principal, and there's also some challenges. And I just appreciate the way that you guys both approach these things, which is great wisdom, but also patience and also empathy for the situation that they're in. As we talked about just briefly earlier, the outdoor learning space is coming together very nice with a tentative due date of having that wrapped up by December 1st, and that would include an outdoor classroom space. And right now the roof was put on, the tin was put on today, and then also too somewhere for storage. To put things like outdoor made microscopes and snowshoes and things like that that are used out there, and then also to an upgrade of the paths that are out in the prairie area. And the outdoor classroom is not just for high school science, but it's for anybody in our building, any classroom, any age, to go out there and integrate, you know, outdoor activities and what their curriculum is. You know, I foresee art classes going out there and using the nature to base, you know, their drawings on or their paintings on. You know, I hope that elementary kids will have an opportunity to read books about playing in the snow and being out there in the snow, having those books read to them. So across the district is the hope for that use. FFA crop, Ben, you know, did a great job of just sharing a little bit about TEP, so I won't go into detail about that, but we did have 2 successful cuttings, which is a nice thing. As Mr. Wheatley said, homecoming was a success this year. More and more opportunities for our high school and middle school kids and elementary kids to do things together. Which really builds great pride across the district under this roof. And as Mr. Wheatley suggested or shared too, that the walking parade was a success, and it was fun to see everybody out there. Our nurse Donna organized on the 7th CPR and also AED refresher courses. And sometimes refresher courses are watching a video and listening to somebody, you know, go through 10 points or things like that. But the gentleman that came up here from Granite Falls, from Avera, did a very nice job of giving us the history and the background between why you use CPR and how things changed over the last decade or so. And then everybody did have an opportunity to do hands-on, you know, with the CPR training too, where the instructor went around and watched to see what the chest compressions looked like and what the breathing looked like. So, and you did it in a very confident way and built people's self-esteem, because it's, for those of you that have done, you know, CPR courses and stuff like that, as adults, sometimes that's difficult to do with other adults watching. You know, it's like, oh God, am I going to pass? But all the staff were able to take the assessment and do very well. So appreciate her for setting up this possibly life-saving instruction for us. Parent-teacher conferences, as mentioned, they did start tonight, the fall ones, and they go on to the 24th. I want to say thank you to Mr. Westbrook. Mr. Westbrook worked with our administrative assistants to build a different way for moms and dads and family members to sign up for conferences. We were using Sign Up Genius, which you pay for, and Jesse was able to put together something that did not cost, and certainly helped us with data privacy too, so that other people didn't get to see other people's names out there on the World Wide Web. Sign up for activities. And then Mr. Wheatley, with the help of some staff, put together a student reflection worksheet for each of the middle school and high school kids to prepare this last week, so that they had input on how things are going in their individual classes, not just their academic grades, but what's going well, what could be improved upon, so that they have their voices heard during conferences. Sometimes if the child is there and you're sitting there with the parent or the teacher, like, how are things going? And it's good, and what did you learn in school today? Nothing. And do you have any homework? No. And it's just like, it's the same thing. So these were some open-ended reflection questions, so that they had that prepared for when moms and dads and family members came in tonight, and then also on the 24th. Centricare, working again with Nurse Donna from Wilmer. We offered flu shots for staff and students, and then for staff members that wish to have a COVID vaccine updated, they could have that done too during the school day. Athletic project update. On the 20th, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony, and that was very well attended. The first game was homecoming, and we had close to 800 people in attendance, and then during the ribbon cutting, there was close to 500 people in attendance. And as I was telling somebody today just what that attendance looked like, we didn't have any seating left for the first game. People were standing, you name it, they were standing there, holding up the fence. So very good attendance. Sherry came over and cut the ceremonial ribbon, and she says hello to all of you if she didn't get to see you on that night. She misses all of you and working with you too. Jim invited ex-football players, alumni football players from not only McRae, but Maynard, Clare City, and Raymond to come. And there was a couple that showed up in their Raymond Letterman's jackets and their Maynard jerseys and things like that. So that was good to see. There was over 50 in attendance, and they spread across the football field from about the 30-yard line to the other 30-yard line, which was great. And then Mr. Trulock also organized and honored a couple of families of football players that have deceased since they have left the McRae program. And then the 56ers played at halftime. So overall, it was a very good evening. Right now, the grass has been seeded out there in the dirt, and first it was prepped. You saw the pictures I sent with the weeds that were under control, and those have all been tilled under. And actually, yes, they've all been tilled under, and then grass has been planted. And I just noticed today too that there's water out on the baseball and softball fields. The plumbing is above ground right now, and the spigot's out there, but just so that grass can begin to grow before the hard freeze. So that's where we're at with the athletic project. Bus safety, as both the principals mentioned, Palmer Bus Company did come out to help with our safety of our students. For some, it was hands-on. For others, it was conversation. But this meets the requirement, and I did not know this until last year, but each school district has to have a policy. And so McRae's policy is 709 that says that you need to give instruction for anybody that is kindergarten through 10th grade. Now, this year we also included the preschool children as well. So, but just so that you know why does this happen, and is there a policy? There is. And we got some assistance from Ashley and Hannah, and they're from the statewide health improvement partnership. In short, it's called SHIP. That's a good group that comes out to talk to about drug abuse, use of tobacco, making good choices, and they're a great resource for our school. Early October, I traveled over to Montevideo and joined the CRSP, which is the County Roadways Safety Plan. They had two gentlemen from MnDOT that are traffic safety engineers, and they held a workshop just to gain information from constituents in the county about travel and traffic. And really, in short, they're part of TZD, which is Towards Zero Deaths. So trying to cut down on severe accidents that take place in our county. So I was invited just to talk about the school district and, where are there intersections that are not safe? Where are there sidewalks that could be improved? Where are there train crossing? Different things like that they asked different constituents from across the county. Rollerblades in the elementary school. We are partnering with a group called Skate Time, And our PE teachers, Aaron Arndt and Caitlin Keenholz, have organized this opportunity for all of our elementary schools, kindergarten through 5th grade, to have access to rollerblades for a week coming up. I believe it's just before holiday break. And even for those students that we think of maybe that they would be unable to stand, they also have some other Wheeler type of activities that those kids can participate, so that each person has an opportunity to be involved. And the program, they provide curriculum for that week, the skates, and then also protective gear for all of our kids. The walk and ride bike to school was very successful. We also give a shout out to the Chippewa County Sheriff's Department and some local ambulance and fire and rescue people that came and made sure that route was safe. Safe routes to school from the community center up to school. And then finally, I think it was probably about a month ago, Debbie gave me a call and put me in connection with a lady by the name of Jennifer, who's the BEN director. BEN stands for Business Education Network, and I believe Debbie has been part of that too, going in and out of schools to help career building, but also to just future planning and to hear from people that are in the field before you have to just leave school and go get a degree or something like that. So working with Jennifer right now to set up a date, but the goal would be is for her to visit McRae with her team sometime yet this fall or early winter with our 8th graders. So that is sharing for this evening. Anybody have a question?
Good, thank you, George.
Yeah.
All right, 6.2 committee reports, I don't see we have any. 6.3 board discussion, anybody got any questions or?
Just a comment.
Sure.
Can we maybe take a walk around the building again and have the weeds whacked that are growing along the building? We talked about that before, and
Yep.
it's kind of first impressions.
Very good, yeah.
And then, just wondering now that we're almost a quarter of the way into the school year, and what I'm hearing from other districts is that they're just seeing, an increase in the children who need some additional assistance.
Okay.
Whether it's SPED or title or whatnot. Have we had discussions with the SPED team? I know in the past I've talked about their concern about the space and whatnot. Have we had discussions with them this year? What have we heard and what are we doing about it?
Sure. So at the end of the year, we did have conversation with our SPED program across the district. And at that point, we made the decision. I came to the board and asked if we could add one FTE in SPED, and we did do that. And so that person has alleviated some of the case manager loads of our elementary and our middle school, high school kids. The SPED department has had a conversation to put together a list of kind of some of their priorities as a department across the district, and our special ed director has shared those things with me. I have not met with the entire special ed department yet this fall as an entire group, but I think we owe it to all of those kids, not just in special ed or title, to put forth the best possible environment for them, and so those conversations will continue to be had. And we have, when in regards to what action steps, we have a brand new special ed director through the co-op. His name is Larry Severson. And I've asked him this late summer and then early fall too, to seek other school districts that have a similar setup with their special ed suite and how it's been successful, so that we can kind of model that too, or at least give resources to our staff.
I think it's great that we're getting input from other districts, but I also think we've got the expertise right here in this district.
Yeah.
And they know what's workable within their environment. So I appreciate if you could visit with them more about if the environment is conducive and if it is not, and then just let us know at the next board
I can do
meeting.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say too, in regards to not only our special ed staff, but also our core teaching staff, they really have done a nice job this fall, being very confident going to Mr. Wheatley or going to Mr. Bertram or coming down to my office just to talk about their successes, but also their concerns. So it's been a very good start with just open and honest communication, but I think that's yes, we can always improve in those areas, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody got anything else they want to bring up? Okay, if not, 7.0 business items, we have two policies. 7.1 adopt policy 506. Need a motion for that.
Do you want me to give just the short
Sure.
version of each of these, just a
Sure.
sentence or so. So 506 has to do with student discipline. In the last year or so, some of the state statutes with student discipline changed. So that's one change you will see in the red line from MSBA. The other item is schools are encouraged each year to look at policy 506 to see if what they're saying in the discipline policy is what they're doing. Okay, so an example would be if a student was removed from a classroom, what are the steps for that? You know, or where are they going? You know, are they sent to the band room? Are they sent to go take a lap on the football field? You have to put that down just in a short phrase, but it's something that this fall both Mr. Bertram and Mr. Wheatley and I and our Dean of Students Sarah Mock sat down to update. So that's what 506. That's what you're looking at tonight. And then 611 has to do with homeschooling. And the only change within that document is that do you remember what article that was?
The blue.
Yes.
Yeah, it was, I don't
Remember what
remember the
paragraph? Okay.
4.
Is it 4? Okay, I remember saying, okay, so at
or
the end,
D, A, B, C, D.
at the end of D, I think one of the last phrases, we added a deadline to when homeschool materials will be purchased. So right now, if a homeschool family would like a textbook, if they have materials and things like that, it's been kind of open-ended. And so therefore, they could be purchasing, I suppose, in June, but yet we have to close our books and start the new year June 30th. And so it would be helpful to have the beginning of the year as kind of at the time in which we respect that and we'll try to get those resources, but we're not in a point where we're going to be purchasing anything more for this school year.
Does that purchase, is it based upon what the homeschool parent requests, or is it based upon what the school offers as curriculum?
I think it's both. You know, I think if whatever the curriculum is that they want at home does not align with what the school standards are, the school curriculum, I believe we could deny that. But if it was, they may not have the exact same textbook that the 6th grade might use. So I'm not giving you a very clear answer because I'm not exactly sure, but that would be, we would look into that.
Most of the time it's a reimbursement. They purchase it and then they,
Send us the-
give us the receipt and then we reimburse them.
So, I know kind of like flip-flopped over into
Yeah,
the
sorry.
second policy, no, that's fine. And I just had a question about that too, so if a student does decide to participate in one of our classes here.
Yep.
Do we then, are we able to collect state aid for that portion of the time that they're in the district?
And it turns
Yes.
to yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in all of the Mars report.
Okay. Just for my own other FYI, so if it is a Christian-based materials, state funding can't pay for that, so it has to be for something that is non-religious based, I should say.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else have any questions about that? I better get a motion here for adopting policy 506, that's the student discipline. I'll make a motion, some policy.
I'll second that.
You, John?
Yep.
Right, any other questions about that before we vote on that one? Okay, those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, 7.2, policy 611, homeschooling, yeah, motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Carmella,
I'll second that.
Deb, seconds that one, any other questions on that particular policy? Nope, all right, those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, 8.0, upcoming meetings. We got Tuesday, November 12th, and then that truth and taxation meeting is always before the regular meeting on the 9th of December. Followed by the regular board meeting. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Right, Scott, second? I'll second that. All right, adjourned at what?
43.
Yeah, 6, yep, 6:43. You're right. And then we'll vote. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?